Hi everyone, welcome back to another video in the 0 to 100k 2023 KDP challenge, where we take a brand new account from zero, from absolute scratch, all the way up to $100,000 in 1 year. And in this month, we're going to be looking at our March royalties, which is our second full month of publishing. Luckily, during March, we were able to focus entirely on our KDP business, and this has meant that we got a lot of books published. We actually got 6 brand new books published, 6 medium content books published this month, and this means that we've made the interiors ourselves, we made the covers ourselves, we converted these into ebooks ourselves. So I think that's quite impressive numbers considering how much work it actually takes to make one of these books. But these are numbers that we are sort of hoping to carry on throughout the rest of the year if we actually want to hit our target of $100,000 in 1 year. So this means that the total number of books that this new account has is 9. Now, of course, this has increased dramatically over this month. But what I will say is that 3 or 4 of these books were published right at the end of March. So, of course, although these books are now on the account, they've not quite had enough time to contribute towards the sales. And most of the sales during this month are still coming from the older books. But I will say is April's had an absolutely fantastic start with these new books doing really, really well. And I think the sales numbers are going to pick up massively from these new books that we published. So really excited to publish that video at the end of the next month. So this brings us to the total royalties that we had in March, which is $432.63, which is almost a 100% increase on last month, which I think is pretty good going, especially when you consider that this is only the second full month of publishing on this new account, and I'm really excited to watch it grow in the next few months, which I'm sure it will do. Here's the graph of our sales over March, and as you can see, the graph is trending really nicely upwards. So we had a bit of a tough time at the start of the month, only really selling one book, and we even had a couple of days where we didn't make any sales. But as you can see, near the end of the month, when we start to have more books on our bookshelf, they've had longer time to perform well in the algorithm, they've had better time for the ads to start performing well in these. You start to see that the books are really starting to sell well, and the trend is definitely going upwards. And this has absolutely continued into April. And we've already comfortably had days into the sort of $60 and $70. We're only 5 days into April, so it's going in an absolutely fantastic direction. And another really nice thing about this graph is that you can tell that it's not just one book that is dominating our sales, whereas we are consistently sending at least sort of 4 or 5 different types of books. And this is what you want, because it means that if one book gets impacted by more competition, by bad reviews or anything like that, we're not heavily relying on this book, but we actually have other books to fall back on and continue to get us royalties coming in. Here's a more in-depth breakdown of our sales. So as you can see here, the vast majority of the sales are coming from the print royalties. So these are the paperbacks, and this is pretty much always going to be the case when you're making medium content books such as we are. But we did actually sell $69 in ebook royalties, which is pretty fantastic. And then you get a couple of dollars every month in KEMPs. That means that it's the online pages read for the ebooks. But every few dollars each month does add up, and hopefully gets closer to our target. So as you can see here, once again, we have our one book which we published in January that is performing extremely well and got almost half of our royalties. But as you can tell from the graph in the page before, these other books are starting to pick up a lot more. And I am sure that this book that is ranking in second place is going to be our new bestseller for next month. And I think it's going to comfortably achieve this. And then as you go down, you can see we sold sort of $93 of this one, $61 of this one, and the royalties are starting to drop a little bit, with this book at number 6 not performing well at all, considering that this is one of the books that we did actually publish in January. Now you notice that there are 3 books missing from this page, and that is because they have not sold any copies in March, and that is because they were all published around about 26th or onwards in March, so they just haven't had enough time to actually get some sales coming in, but they are starting to come in now in April, which is very nice. So now have a look at how our ad campaigns performed over this month. And what I will say is we are still running quite an aggressive ad strategy. And that is because when your books are first published, it is really important to run a slightly more aggressive ad strategy than you would later on down the line. And there are a few reasons for this. And the main reasons are that we want the books to sort of bump up the algorithms. We want our books to get on the first page. We want people finding these books and actually clicking on them. And that means that in the future, we can start to tailor off our ads a little bit, because our books will actually be ranking well enough organically, but we just need to get them there in the first place. Another reason is that Amazon gives you sort of a trial period in the first 30 days where they see how well your books are actually performing. So it's really important in these first 30 days to almost trick Amazon into thinking your book is selling even better than it actually is. So that is why running aggressive ads during this first month and the first sort of period after that of these new books is really important. And of course, also it does bring reviews in. We've had some very good and positive reviews already on our books so far, and everyone knows that having good reviews and having many reviews on any product, no matter what it is, will cause more people to buy your product. So here's our advertising campaign in the UK, where we spent £98.11, we got 292 sales, and we had an ACOS of about 33%, which is around about a break-even ACOS for us. So we're not really making any money on this in the short term, but in the long term, we definitely are making money because it means more people are finding our books. As you can see, this is quite a high ad spend, but the UK is the marketplace where we sell by far the most of our books, so this is always going to happen. And next comes the US, where we had a $66 ad spend with $159 in sales. As we can see here, our ACOS is at 41%, so it's a little higher than we would like, but our ACOS was actually trending towards a better direction at the end of the month. And as we go into April, our ACOS is actually looking really good in the US. Now we come to Canada, which actually had a very disappointing ACOS because Canada is very easy to advertise in because there's not that much competition there. But here we spent 30 Canadian dollars, so not loads of money. Got $68 in sales, as I said, 43% ACOS. And then comes to Australia, where we spent 20 Australian dollars, got 191 Australian dollars in sales, and had only a 10.7% ACOS. This is absolutely fantastic ACOS in Australia, but I am not surprised because Australia is by far the easiest country of the four to advertise in because there's simply not much competition. So if you're not advertising in Australia, you definitely should be because this is where you'll get the best sort of cost per clicks, it's where you'll get the best ACOSs and everything like that. And it is really worth it, even though it doesn't spend quite as much as the other countries. And this brings us to our total profit. So as you saw earlier, our royalties were just over $432, and then our ad spend, including the 20% VAT, so I've added on my VAT or times the ad spend number by 1.2, is $269.46, which means that our total profit is $162.90. So our profit margins are starting to look slightly better than last month. And what is going to happen is as we start to go slightly less aggressive with our ad campaigns, you are going to see a better and better profit margin on each book as time goes by. And hopefully when we get to a point where the books have been on Amazon for sort of 3, 4, 5 months, that is when we could start to spend about 30 to 35% of our sales on advertising. So that means that we are getting to keep almost or the vast majority of the royalties, which is what we are aiming for when we get into sort of more important periods of KDP, such as Q4, where the bulk of the sales actually do come in. So all in all, it was a good month, which is definitely trending upwards, and I'm really excited to show everyone royalties for April because I think they can absolutely blow this month out of the water.